Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Tuesday morning. It's Stephen Whiteside here from the uptrend.com. In the pre market this morning, we've got a lot of volatility. The Dow is down mostly because of United Healthcare, which is down about $55 in the pre market. Tech stocks are higher. I see Apple is up again today, so we may see Apple back on a buy signal by the end of the day. We've got a lot of tech earnings coming out this week. It'll be interesting to see if any of the CEOs talk about what's happening overseas because a lot of countries are trying to move away from using U.S. technology. And if you look up France, for example, you'll see a story about what they're doing. So that could that affect the earnings, the forecast for for 2026? Well, we'll have to see what they say. Of course, we got the Fed tomorrow, and that could certainly add to some volatility. And then a potential U.S. government shutdown going into the weekend, and that, of course. I it doesn't dramatically affect the stock market, but maybe this time it will. We'll just have to wait and see. And now I've been talking about, foreigners trying to get out of the U.S. dollar assets, and here's a chart from Bloomberg just showing how dramatic that has been over the last couple of years, and that's not going to be helpful for the stock market at some point, but it has not started just yet. Now, the US dollar index has been down since the Davos meeting last week. It hasn't broken down yet. This is a weekly chart from last Friday, and we have not broken the 96.88 level. If we do that, then that's going to certainly start to be a concern of some sort. But you can see that 96.88 was a good level of support last year. 100, good level of resistance, and we'll see which way we break out of that range. Now, of course, if the US dollar is going down, the euro is going up. The Canadian dollar has been up the last couple of days, got stuck at 73 yesterday. Be interesting to see if it can break out above the December high. Of course, the whole world is focused on Japan, government intervention in the markets, and the Japanese yen has moved sharply over the past couple of days. Now, what the world is really worried about is not necessarily what's going on in Japan, but you might have heard of the Japanese carry trade, and that's where institutions, let's say Goldman Sachs, for example, can go over to Japan and borrow hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars and in yen and bring it back to the US. And the reason they go over to Japan is because their interest rates were artificially low. And so they could borrow money over there. They could bring it to the US, buy US stocks, buy NVIDIA, buy the rest of them. And that trade could be coming to an end if the Japanese government forces their own interest rates up, and it makes it unprofitable for American institutions to borrow money in Japan and bring it over to the US. If they have to start shipping the money back, that's going to come out of stocks, and that's not going to be good for the stock market. But there's no evidence that that has started just yet. People are always sending me things, showing me that the U.S. is probably in a recession, but not officially. And here's an interesting chart of auto loans being rejected. We're up to nearly 35% at the time, and that is historically a very high level. It hasn't affected the auto stocks. Here's some weekly charts from last Friday. You can see Ford, General Motors, Stellantis, probably not going to be around that much longer. I wouldn't be buying a Chrysler car anytime soon, but here we are. And then we look at Tesla. Tesla's still holding up very well. So with all the auto loans being rejected, it's certainly not apparent in the stock charts, but maybe Ferrari is the canary in the coal mine. You can see that stock has dropped dramatically over the last couple of months. So maybe people trying to buy Ferraris are being rejected at a higher level than the rest of the market. Now, of course, when we talk about money coming out of the US, it's going into gold, it's going into platinum, it's going into silver. Silver was up sharply yesterday. If we look at the monthly charts for these commodities, you can see how, for several years they traded about the same level. And then here we are just spiking dramatically as countries are aggressively trying to get out of the US. Now, when they say countries are trying to get out of the US, what they're doing is instead of holding US dollars as reserves, they're now holding precious metals as reserves and giving up those US dollars. Now, the VIX was up across the board yesterday, whether you're looking at the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, or the Russell 2000. And so options traders are still kind of nervous about what's going on in the market. Now moving on to the Canadian market, and we had a few winners yesterday. The most of the market was down on the day. We had the material sector make a new high on Monday, inside day for energy stocks, and then we had Infotech moving up. Certainly no major change there for the Infotech sector. The TSX 60 traded above the upper trend line but did not close above it, closed down 3 cents yesterday. The broader TSX Composite Index made a new high yesterday and then closed down just 5 cents on the day, so no major change there. Looking at the most actives, we've got Enbridge pulling back slightly yesterday after making a new high for this move. There's a new high for B2 Gold on Monday. Canadian Natural Resources stuck here at $50. Then we've got Ivanhoe making a new high. We've got Whitecap making a new high. Then we've got TC Energy trying to break out above the 78.13 level, and investors have gotten nervous up at this level several times in the past. Looking at Barrick, new high for Barrick on Monday, new high for Kinross. Baytech moving up slightly yesterday, just up 4 cents on the day. Then we've got a new high for Capstone Mining. The Royal Bank on a sell signal right now, making a new low for this move on Monday. Then we've got TELUS. TELUS on a buy signal right now. It's got a little climb to go, but there's a nice open gap up here from back in November that could certainly be a target for TELUS if we keep going from here. Now, most of the U.S. market was up yesterday. There's just a couple of losers on the day. Looking at the Vanguard Total Market ETF, it's back on a buy signal here. If you're going to take any of these new buy signals, take a half position and wait and see if we can clear the recent highs. Then we've got the Dow was up on the day again. Can it break out above the recent high? We're very close here, so we are looking at major potential resistance for the S&P 500. The Nasdaq, we may clear the recent highs today. We've certainly, back up to the downtrend line up there, looking for a breakout. We're overbought at the present time, so you're not buying. These are not low risk trades at all. Then looking at these mid cap, small cap, micro caps, they all pulled back yesterday. They were the big winners last week, and this week we've got some money coming out of those particular areas of the market. Semiconductors down slightly yesterday. That probably had a lot to do with Intel. Looking at the most actives from Monday's trading action, Intel was the most actively traded stock and the big loser on the day. Nvidia pulled back slightly yesterday, still on a buy signal. Plug Power pulled back yesterday, still on a buy signal. New high for B2 Gold yesterday before pulling back going into the close. It closed up slightly on the day, well off the intraday high. Kenvue still on a buy signal here. No joy for Ford. Still on a sell signal. New high for Denison Mines yesterday before pulling back, closing down slightly on the day. And you can see we're having trouble up here at 391, and just above 391 is $4. So we got as high as $4.05. So having some trouble up here at the $4 level for Denison Mines. Apple was up yesterday. It's up again in the pre-market this morning. So we're looking for a close above $257.14. That would take us out of our short position, and we would go long Apple. Looking at Tesla, it pulled back into the channel yesterday, so a little weakness there. We need to close below $433.15. We closed at $435.20, so just about $2 away from a sell signal. American Airlines, no joy, new low for this move. No joy for Netflix, trading up to the lower channel line yesterday. Mathematically, we could see a buy signal, but look how many times that Netflix traded up to the lower channel line over the past few months. Okay, folks, that is all for this morning's presentation. So far, it looks like we're going to see some buying in the tech sector on Tuesday morning. Little pullback for commodities so far, but that could change throughout the day. You have a great day. Next time you'll hear my voice is on a Wednesday morning.
Thanks for tuning in until the very end of today's stock market timing educational video. If you found the content valuable, don't forget to express your support by hitting the like button, leave a comment, sharing with your friends, and subscribing to our channel for more insightful updates. Remember, in the world of stocks, timing is crucial, and following the trend can be your greatest ally. If you would like more information on how we can help you better time the stock market, please visit theuptrend.com.